Hi, I'm Ruth Pierce. I'm the Relationship Maximizer, and we are going through Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And currently, we're in habit 2, and we're just beginning it. We'll do about half of it today and half next week. But as a review, the first 3 habits are what's called private victory habits. They move us from dependence on people and dependence on circumstances and gets us to being independent. It's moving us up that bar so that we're not reactive, that we're proactive. In fact, being proactive is the first habit. That's what we covered in other sections. And if you haven't listened to those and you want to, then go back and do that. But we're not reactive. We are responsible for our actions. We have the ability to respond, and we want to be proactive in how we do respond. In fact, one of my other mentors says this. He says, our response to something is almost always more important than the something. So we do want to be careful how we respond. We want it to be a proactive response. At first, as we start this, we're going to do a little activity. And so you may want to grab a piece of paper, or you can do it later after the video is over, where you can write down some thoughts. But habit 2 is begin with the end in mind. And this is pretty much directly from the book and how he gets this name. This habit Stephen Covey does. In your mind's eye, see yourself going to a funeral of a loved one. Picture yourself driving to the funeral, whether it's at the church parlor or wherever it may be. Picture yourself getting out of the car. As you walk inside the building, you notice the flowers, the soft organ music. You see the faces of friends and family you pass along the way. You feel the shared sorrow of losing, the joy of having known, that radiates from the hearts of the people there. As you walk down to the front of the room and look inside the casket, you suddenly come face to face with yourself. This is your funeral, 3 years from today. All these people have come to honor you, to express feelings of love and appreciation for your life. As you take a seat and wait for the services to begin, you look at the program in your hand. There are 4 speakers. The first is from your family, whether immediate or extended family. The second speaker is one of your friends, someone who can give a sense of who you were as a person. The third speaker is from your work or your profession. And the fourth is from your church or some community organization where you have been involved in service. Now, I want you to think deeply. What would you like each of these speakers to say about you and your life? What kind of husband, wife, father, mother would you like them to their words to reflect? What would your friend have to say? What would you want them to say? What kind of working associate were you? What character traits would you like them to have seen in you? What contributions and achievements would you want them to remember? Look carefully at the people around you. What difference would you like to have made in their lives? So, either stop this video and write down your thoughts on what each of those 4 speakers would have to say, or do it after this is over. But it'll get you started on what you value in your life. First speaker would be a family member. Second speaker, a friend who knows you well. Third speaker, someone from your work or profession. And fourth speaker, someone from your church or community organization. And yes, I did that. And it confirmed things that I was already thinking, but it also got me thinking about some other things too. When you consider what you once said at your funeral, you will find your true meaning to success. It may not be what you think it is. We gain a different perspective. This is what is meant to begin with the end in mind. And then each part of your life, today's behavior, tomorrow's behavior, next week's behavior, next month's behavior, can be examined in the context of the whole of what really matters to you, because you've spent the time to begin at the end in mind. You now have a clear understanding of your destination once you've worked through this. Now, this is not a one and done. This will be a process that you do several times in your life to correct your course, to get you going again. You know where you are right now, and so you know the steps you take are always in the right direction, as long as you begin with the end in mind. Beginning with the end in mind keeps you from falling in the trap of just being busy without being effective. It's incredibly easy to get caught up in the activity trap, isn't it? You may be working harder and harder climbing that ladder, and then you discover your ladder's against the wrong wall. It's not where you wanted to go at all. If our ladder is leaning against the wrong wall, each time we climb, it just gets us to the wrong place faster. So now we're going to talk on the subject of all things are created twice. Begin with the end in mind is based on the principle that all things are created twice. There is a mental or first creation, and then there is actually a physical or second creation to all things. We can see this in the construction world if it's done right. There's always a blueprint, there's plans, and everybody looks at those plans to see if they want any changes at that stage, because changes at that stage are a lot less expensive than once the construction has really started. And whoever's working on that project, if they do it right, they pull out the print every day to get their marching orders for the day, because they use that first creation to help them determine what their second creation will be. This is true in other places too. In the business world, the more successful a business will be is determined by how much pre-planning is done for the most part. Do they have enough funding for it? Do they know what the market is? Do they have a plan? Also in parenting. If you want to raise responsible, self-disciplined children, you have to keep the end clearly in mind as you interact with them day after day. Operating within this principle of all things are created twice enlarges our circle of influence. Remember, we talked about that last time. Operating outside of it diminishes our circle of influence. So are we acting by design or default? This is another subtopic within Stephen Covey's book. It's a principle that all things are created twice, but not all first creations are by conscious design. If we do not develop our own self-awareness and we do not become responsible for first creations, we empower other people and circumstances outside our circle of influence to shape much of our lives by default. We reactively, which we don't want to be reactive, do we? Live the scripts handed to us by family, associates, and other people's agendas. It can also be the pressure of circumstances, scripts from earlier years from our training or conditioning. We've all done that, haven't we? What's the first example in your life that comes to your mind? These scripts come from people, not from principles. These scripts rise out of our deep vulnerability, our deep dependency on others, and our needs for acceptance and love, for belonging. And that's why we're moving from dependency up to independence. So we aren't governed by those things. And that's why it's so important to love and accept yourself, to value yourself, so you're not so dependent on that from other people. We are either the second creation of our own proactive design, or we are the second creation of other people's agendas, of circumstances, or past habits. And here's 3 words that Stephen Covey brings out that help us with this first creation. One is self-awareness. The more you are aware of what you are doing and where you want to go, helps you create that first still. The second one is imagination. Get where you can imagine a better future. Get where you can imagine where you want to end up. And the more emotion that you can put with that imagination, the deeper that groove will be up here in your brain. And then the other one is conscience. All of those enable us to examine and make possible for us to take charge of our own creation. This says it pretty well. Habit 1 was be proactive. And it says you are the creator. When you say, I am proactive, you're giving yourself the skills that you need to be, or that I won't say it's the skills, it's the permission to be the creator. And then habit 2, begin with the end in mind, is the first creation. It's like the blueprint that we are creating for the life we want to have. Do you see how both those build on each other? Do not give away your special role as the creator of your own life. Do not allow anyone else to create what you desire your life to look like. The next subtopic in this book has to do with leadership and management. And those are 2 separate creations. Habit 2 is based on principles of personal leadership, which means that leadership is the first creation. Leadership is not management. Management is the second creation, and we'll discuss that a lot more in Habit 3. But leadership has to come first. Management is bottom line focus. How can I best accomplish certain things? Leadership deals with top line focus. What are the things I want to accomplish? Management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right things. And that came from Peter Drucker and Warren Bennis. Management is efficiency and climbing the ladder of success. Leadership determines whether the ladder is leaning against the right wall. It is the leader who climbs the highest tree, while management and workers are cleaning the undergrowth in the forest and sees that they are clearing the wrong jungle or the right one. But leadership is hard because we're often caught in a management paradigm. Parents are often trapped in the management paradigm, thinking of control, efficiency, and rules instead of direction, purpose, and family feeling. Leadership is even more lacking in our personal lives. We are into managing with efficiency, setting and achieving goals before we've even clarified our values. That would be putting the second creation before the first. This next subtopic is called rescripting, becoming your own first creator. In developing our own self-awareness, we can discover ineffective scripts and deeply embedded habits that are totally unworthy of us, even totally incongruent with the things we really value in life. Habit 2 says we don't have to live with those scripts. We are responsible for using our imagination and creativity to write new ones that are more effective or congruent with our deepest values and with the correct principles that give our values meaning. What matters most often gets buried under layers of pressing problems, immediate concerns, and outward behaviors. When this happens, we become reactive. But because I am self-aware, because I have imagination and conscience, I can examine my deepest values. I can change the script I'm living to be in harmony with those values. I can be my own first creator, not accepting someone else's first creation for me. I can change. I can live out my imagination instead of my memory. And by the way, that memory can take us off base very quickly. We can remember how things always used to be. And most of those memories that we do over and over again are not good ones. And it limits what our imagination can do. So focus on imagining a better future than rerunning those bad memories. I can tie myself to my limitless potential instead of my limiting past. I can tie myself to my limitless potential rather than my limiting past. In any role, I can make decisions at the beginning of each day with my values firmly in mind. And as challenges come up, I will make the decisions based on those values. I can react with integrity. I can react with emotion. Oh, I do not react with emotion or to the circumstances. I can be truly proactive and value-driven because my values are clear. We'll stop there for today, and we'll finish the second habit in our next session. Thank you for listening. This is Ruth Pierce, the Relationship Advisor.